because even your volume sounds low. But anyway,
Is
we
it?
got it.
Is it low?
All right, y'all. We are live for episode 9 of the Conscious Disruptors podcast. Y'all got to excuse me. My glasses are foggy because I just got from doing leg day at the gym. So we'll work through it. It's the
Getting
problem
it
of
in.
people that got glasses in this digital space. But anyway, my name is Apollo Woods. I am the chair of Oklahoma Black Pack, and like always, have my partner in crime, Auntie TT.
What's happening, people? Tanasha Woods, Miss Tanasha Woods, for those who don't know me. You know what I'm saying? Get it right. Don't approach me as Auntie TT. We don't know each other like that yet.
Hey, look, if you want those problems, go and call her Auntie TT in public.
Oh, God.
But,
That's good. I'm so happy
anywho,
to be here, Apollo. I
we
feel
here.
like
It's
we've been
another
gone
day.
forever or something.
There's another day post the MLK holiday, which was yesterday.
Yes.
It was not his birthday. It was the holiday.
The recognized
his birthday is actually January 15th, which is the same day of the founding of an organization that you are familiar with. Whose founding day was that yesterday? I mean, Saturday.
Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
There we go. There we go. I was trying to give you that alley-oop so that way you can do your thing. It's the L's in Alpha, Kappa Alpha are always. It's always funny. But shout out to Basaras on their founding day on Saturday. The first and the finest out there doing that thing.
Okay. Just know.
So as we always start off with, what's something positive that's happened since the last time we've come together. And so because the gentleman and the scholar that I am, Tanasha, you go first.
All right, y'all, check it out. It's been a minute. I have to say I've been missing everybody. What's good though is these challenges that I've decided to dive into for this year. You know, some people make resolutions. I don't do those. And I start my year over with assessments and whatever on my birthday, which is in November. So, but at the beginning of this year, I just started accepting some different challenges for myself. And that's the good part. I'm not divulging what those are. Though I will. Yeah, y'all know how. If you've been looking long enough, you know I tend to pin things, right? But that's the good thing because it's helped me do some different things with my focus. And that's the main reason that I'm accepting these different challenges for myself, because I want to see if I can focus on something else for a different outcome. So that's what's good with me. What's good with you?
Well, you got to keep pushing yourself. Got to go beyond.
Exactly.
I heard this quote. I think it was in this chat I was in, and they said, when you get to the end of your known ability, that's when you understand how much further you have to go. So, yeah, that's why you always got to challenge yourself, learn more. So for me, something positive that has happened. So been doing some family research, and this is really, really, really exciting for me.
Yeah.
And for my family too. So our family has a lot of acreage in Southeast Oklahoma in the Chickasaw, Choctaw territories. So in our research of trying to pull together a family trust, we had to find some deed information. So I had a great coffee with the gentleman who gave me some insight. So I was searching in Garvin County, and I found the deed allotment to 80 acres of land that was deeded to us. 40 was from the Chickasaw Nation and 40 from the Choctaw Nation. So to see that my great-great-grandfather's name was signed, I think it was March 16th, 1904, on this document was crazy. Like it was like finding this family artifact of something that has the ability to change the trajectory of how we can create wealth and build for our family. And it was amazing to see that and to see, ancestors' names and older relatives on these deed agreements. Man, it was exciting to see because it helps us set up our trust and how we want to build out our trust and how we can create wealth for our family. So that was pretty dope to be able to see that. And
That
I had
is
to get off of it too, because when you start looking at those county records, old records, it goes into this rabbit hole. And I started searching other names and some of my mom's name and other relatives' names. I had to stop, but to be able to see that it was a deed,
mm-hmm.
and the key word is the land was allotted, which means that that 80 acres that we know of right now is considered sovereign land, and there's something great we can do with that
Okay.
allotted land. So I'm excited about that.
That is exciting. I
It's
hope
pretty
others
dope.
who are listening
Yeah.
realize the level of excitement that is.
And for people that may not really understand, what does it mean to have land allotted to you? So there's one thing where you have land that's purchased or acquired, but when the land is allotted to you from a tribal government, tribal nation, it gives you sovereignty. So it's your own rule. You can develop it on your own. There are some benefits to that. Being able to develop your own. It's like really having your own government, for lack of words to think about at the moment. But it was exciting to see that document. Man, I printed that out, called my older cousins right away, like, man, I found this and I found Daddy Boss's name on there. We call him Daddy Boss. Found Daddy Boss's name on there, and I saw great grandma's name on there. Like, it was just cool to see that stuff. But 1904 is when it was signed. It was cool.
1904. My goodness.
Yeah, so that was
Oklahoma wasn't even a state till 1907.
So we could go deeper into the whole migration to Oklahoma and where black folks that we can go deeper into that, but we won't get too carried away with that today. But this is kind of what's been on my mind.
Okay.
After, in regards to MLK Day.
Okay.
Now, so I feel like I want to go into it for the sake of the time that we have allotted for today, because the older I get, it seems that people really miss the mark on what the nonviolent movement led by Dr. King as the public figure. People have really, really, really missed the mark.
Talk about it.
And so there are a lot of things that were done, but if people really listen to more than his "I Have a Dream" speech, listen to more than his speech about the mountaintop speech, like his last one when he was at the mosque. Listen to more than that. You hear him talking about commerce. You hear him talking about how can you expect a group to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they've been bootless.
Yeah.
You hear him fighting for that for us, which created this controversy that had him labeled as a communist. And what came out glaring to me in this was, when you're alive, and I'm speaking for black men here, black men sacrificing and leading, you are in the way that he did as a conscious disruptor. You're not praised. You are villainized.
Yep.
This man was on the FBI's top most wanted list, called a communist, hated, life threatened, family threatened, lives threatened. And in his death, he's praised by also and given honor by people that are 364 days out of the year act like they don't agree with the sentiments that and the philosophies that Dr. King stood for. So I'm gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna start there. You can go and chime in.
Well, first of all, there was a lot of if people are paying attention on social media, I feel like I need a study done on social media, because I talk to people who say, I'm not on social media. How do I get information? But social media was lit up yesterday, particularly with Black folk telling other folk, before you go quoting Dr. Martin Luther King, how about you recognize some of these things? And were very intentional in their post, giving different other quotes, just like you said, coming from other different speeches that he made, It's just too valuable,
Yep.
that information that's being skipped over.
Yep.
And this makes me go to the fact that we're dealing with, in this time, in this state, I'm just talking about Oklahoma, the fact that many people want to eradicate the mere teachings of this history.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you can continue, anyone can continue to quote or even misquote, let's say, that some of
Right.
the teachings of Dr. King, and still want to say, well, we're not going to teach you about all of it. We'll just tell you that this one guy said this one thing. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It doesn't help to provide a linear perspective, or better yet, holistic perspective as to the building of this particular nation and the civil rights movement, if we're just going to talk about the civil rights movement. So Apollo, and I know you were one of them that lit up social media yesterday, and I appreciate.
I didn't really light it up. I just kind of like, because I honestly, I really had to get off of social yesterday. I didn't post as much as I normally would because I was getting so agitated.
Mm-hmm.
And one other things I got agitated about too is if he's advocating for Black-owned businesses, well,
Mm-hmm.
he's advocating for equality and access.
Absolutely.
And so many of our businesses were closed. Why? I don't understand. The opportunity for you to make money. This is not a banking holiday for Black people.
Well, the misconception there is, you're making a point. I'm sorry, you're making a point, but a misconception is that we too deserve to celebrate this particular holiday. Yes, that's the misconception when we talk about small businesses, right? And everybody wants to be in on all of the celebration and whatnot. But what we fail to realize is what you were getting ready to say. The money-making opportunity goes out the window when you're out in the parades and attending whatever organizations that have some type of coming together. What am I trying to say? Some type of presentation that they're giving. It doesn't do you any good. You could be open and waiting for them folk to come through when they get finished, right? Like, or
not everybody's going to the parade. Not everybody's going to go to the breakfast.
Right.
Not everybody's going to go to those activities. But even then, still, to know that it's open because people are seeking you out and you're closed. This leads to Operation Breadbasket, which is something that one of his speeches he talked about on where do we go next, what Dr. King talked about. So, and I'll give out a little bit. So Operation Breadbasket was a program begun in 1962 by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. So Operation Breadbasket was a intentional economic stimulating type of campaign in Chicago and Atlanta, and it was launched nationwide. And it was successful in the 70s because what they said was, if you're not willing to hire Black folks, to pay equal wage for Black folks compared to white folks, we're taking your products off of our shelves.
Look at that.
And in one of Dr. King's speeches where he said, where do we go next? He said, it was effective because that program, I think for the city of Atlanta, it brought $25 million of spending to the city of Atlanta. This is in the 70s.
Over what time? What was the time limit that they gave?
Well, he said annually. So on the years, it was $25 million to the city of Atlanta. That was in the 70s. And then if you look at in today's terms, that probably was $250 million, right? But thinking about it, the Buy Black campaigns that are coming out now, that oftentimes are appropriated, were happening back then too. But we look at Dr. King as he was a peaceful person, and he walked and he marched, and he was about peace, and he wanted folks to vote. But Dr. King and Malcolm X, they were alike. They were more alike than they were different. It's the media and our perceptions and our reading these washed down images of our strong leaders and strong Black women leaders too. Let's not forget our strong Black leaders, Black men and women, who were fighting for equality and access. And and it was I just want people to really understand that this wasn't about your right to vote. Right, getting your right to vote is one part, but having the right to vote and not using that vote to generate commerce, to build our communities, to actually fight for legislation that benefits us, what's the point of people sacrificing the right for vote? That has been attacked. It seems like every cycle we're talking about renewing the Civil Rights Act and Voters' Rights Acts.
Right.
So folks got to pay attention. Let me get off there because I was about to go left.
Well, I mean, it all comes together though. This is the reason why we have a culmination of individuality. That's an oxymoron. I said a culmination, and then I'm using the word individuality. People are still together on this fact that I get to do whatever I want to do, and it's messing us up. We need to have one reason. Our reason is that we need to have our voices heard collectively, and our money collectively utilized for Black businesses to make this impact. So going off, I think that it's necessary. I wanted to impart on the fact that when I said this misconception, you know, it's one thing to have a parade that, you know, all of your high school bands are at, and different things like that. You know, I don't know what people felt yesterday about the parade, but I had a couple of reviews from different individuals, and it's by far a smaller parade, and not that much not many people attending it, standing on the sides. It used to be so much larger, and it meant so much more. I would like for people to tune in and talk about what is it that they missed, what is it that they felt about this particular parade. One of the things that caught my eye, a couple of things, but this one first, is where the parade route is. Why we still have the parade route in the area where it is today. Our downtown is doing some different things. It's
Okay,
no
Tanasha,
longer.
you are literally trying to make me say something I don't want to
I'm
say.
not. I'm not trying to make you
I
say.
think, yeah, you're trying to make me say something I don't want to say. Um, well, in reality, the parade across the country has been something that has been um, routed through downtown cities.
Sure.
That's one part. I kind of see it. You know, we understand that our culture is appropriated, and that's our fault, not mine. Former leaders'
Let's
fault
be clear.
for creating this place of
Right.
selling our culture for profit and selling out. Let me stop. But that part of the parade overshadows the parades and activities that happened yesterday on the east side, or
Right.
that happened in North Tulsa and Greenwood. It overshadows it. It should never overshadow us. But one thing I'm skeptical about is people get really confident in wanting to say, inflate what something really is.
Mm-hmm.
When you inflate what something really is, you give off this false perception, and people don't question it. So, our state is not, our city is not a large metropolitan area.
Right.
And there are things I think we can do to grow the parade to where it makes sense. This year, I decided not to do an MLK event after the parade. But when we look at the comparison, and let me stop rambling. This is the point I want to bring home. When we look at organizations,
Mm-hmm.
the sign of a thriving organization, whatever the organization is, whatever group it's made up of,
Mm-hmm.
is where is the connection to youth? The civil rights movement, revolutions, protests, rallies, they're always, the successful ones are always connected to young people,
Mm-hmm.
because that's important. That's an important sign.
Right.
Because if you have young people in the pipeline, you're developing those young people to take over leadership.
Right.
So when you don't have young people visible, present, and active, you have old ways of doing it. And the universe, well, environments. I don't want people to think when I say universe, I'm talking about
Make it clear. Make it clear.
whatever religious thing. The natural part of the natural elements that reaction happens is when you don't make room for growth, you create a place of stagnation. And it should not look the same in 2022 than it did in 2012.
Right.
Our elections, participation shouldn't look the same every 2 and 4 years.
Right.
We shouldn't be thinking presidential. We got to spike. But the ones that matter to us the most are municipal and county and state. Directly affects us right away. So I'm trying to not, you know what? We got to do a better job. Here's the consequence of not having young people. They'll create something else. And we don't invite them to things that they should be learning from you on.
Yeah.
You can't get mad when they don't invite you to their space. It's because you're an elder. You can't get mad about that. Because just like, for example, like with SNCC, well, somebody got mad because they weren't elected the president of SNCC. And next thing you know, you got the Rainbow Coalition. And you got the Rainbow Coalition. You got something else. You got the alphas, and you got the kappas and the Qs. You got the AKs. You got this stuff happens because the competition. Really, we got to stop talking about competition. We got to stop acting like creating something else is bad competition for our community. We got to stop acting like that,
right? Because it's healthy.
It's healthy. Because if you were on it, you'd be okay. We use this. When we talked about this the other day, you think Quick Trip really cares about 7-Eleven?
Right? Big conglomerates are always competing, and we look at Walgreens and CVS.
They be right across the street
from each other. Come on. I'm just saying, we have some good examples.
Man, they be right across the street. Like,
every single time. Sometimes it cracks me up because you'll see one that's been there for a minute. The next thing you know, there's some building going on, and you know it's the opposite chain. You've just made some great points as to competition. I say that all the time. You know, when I my last trip to Atlanta recently, I went to a store. It's called Urban Eden. It's a wonderful store that sell soaps. And next in this shopping center, it was all Black-owned businesses. So it was about 6 or 7 businesses in this shopping center. And so I'm in there, I'm perusing, but I looked at the names of these other businesses, and they all sell Apollo, the same types of things. And so I said to this particular clerk, I was like, man, competition is heavy over here. He was like, his response to me was classic. He was like, you know, we all can eat. Actually, we have the same customers. They come here, they go there. It's all, you know, and that is the general consensus of if we want to look at this, we don't have a socialist society at all, and nobody's trying to take from somebody else and give to the other. But when we talk about capitalism, people spend their money where they want to spend their money. And when you have a business, one, not just because you're Black, but one, because you're Black people tend to want to come to you. And two, but most kind of one, really, when they have really good customer service, when they are welcomed in and they give a good quality of whatever it is that they're selling, what we doing? Coming back.
But you know what? Like, I think sometimes we are too hard on Black-owned businesses when we're talking about good customer service. Now, I'll say this. Look, every business needs to understand that service matters. But if you have a good product and it's available, to me it's easier for me to buy it.
Yeah.
I ain't really yes, service is something that's cool, yeah. But if you make it easy for me to buy from you and I enjoy the product, customer service isn't high on the priority list for me. But it becomes higher on the list for me when it's hard to buy. It's not easy to me to access it. At that point, I'm like, you making it hard for me to spend. So then it becomes, for me, service becomes a higher priority because the other parts don't matter. Because you can go down the street and there's so many other restaurants that got bad service, but you'll stay in those drive-throughs for that burrito that's
But
processed meat.
listen to what you're saying, though. You're describing the different. We are not all the same type of people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what you're saying, we were talking about competition being healthy. That's the healthy part of it.
Yep.
People know that your doors will not close because we have so many different types of people. Apollo just described something that I would never ever said, because that customer service that I receive when I go in, it helps me to have a good experience, particularly if I'm new in your store. I had a wonderful experience. This person came out and told me everything. We had some laughs. I will never forget it. And I want to go back. Right now, I do agree, though, that we hold customer service to a different level with Black folks. But we ought to understand that the same type of things that you're wanting, this is when what you're saying comes into play to me, Apollo.
Yeah.
The same things that you're wanting from another business, if you're able to get that easily, then give that Black business the same regard that you would give to another one. Keep going back because you love whatever it is that they're offering, whether it's the
Mm-hmm.
food, you can't get it like that somewhere else. Go back, wait in that line, deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether or not they just slow, whatever it is. I remember several, like right now, Slutty Vegan in Atlanta, the line is ridiculous all the time. And when the Old Lady Gang first opened up too, I think their line still is really long. My point is, folk will wait on some good food.
And they will, but when you think about those businesses that have those long lines, you're not getting good service.
Because you're waiting, yes? Like you have
You're
a
waiting
crazy
because you know that if I'm in line, I'm going to get served. You know that I want it because it tastes good. You're not getting good service. They're not walking up and down the line, and they're not talking to you and passing. They're not doing that. You
But what is
standing in
the
that line
experience?
for that meal to get in. Black Friday, you standing in the Walmart parking lot, the Best Buy parking lot at 2:00 in the morning for 8:00 the next day. You're standing in line. You're not getting good service. So I think at times we think that service value is so higher on the list, but when you step back and you really think about it, if I make it easy to spend in a product that I enjoy purchasing from you, that's higher in the list than how great the service was. I'll give you this example. You go to a restaurant that's more like a fine dining restaurant, and you go to the restaurant. Some restaurants, they have different people that come by your table a certain number of times.
Right.
So, and you could be waiting on that food for 30 minutes. But because so many different people came by and just asked, are you okay? Need some water, another drink, give you more bread. Your food ain't came out yet. In your mind, I had a great service experience. No, you didn't. You had to wait 30 minutes for food.
They were attentive.
The difference was that fine dining experiences, they had 4 different people coming by to check on you to make you feel like you got some attention. When really you waited 30 minutes. But it takes 11 minutes to get something at a different restaurant. And there may be you talk to at the cashier and you picked it up and that's it. But we mad about stuff. I think people get real conditional on what type of service they want to get. But okay, off the restaurant part, because so when I look at how we can raise the environment in Oklahoma, it's not like those foundational things don't exist.
Right.
It's not like we don't have great places to buy products or businesses to support. It's not that. We have to be intentional on how we spend.
Sure.
And we have to look at from a place of, do small businesses get, when you open that spot, did you get training on customer service? Did you get that? Or you were so busy raising capital, open up your business, that sometimes it's just hard to give that level of service that customers might want because you're trying to get a product out. Like when I go to Carrot Cans, love Carrot Cans.
Yeah,
that's the best Caribbean restaurant in Oklahoma, and I'll put money on it and fight me. Well, you ain't gonna fight anyway. But you go there, and everybody's nice, But they don't have time to be like, let me go out. They don't have time. They get your food timely, get it taste great. And guess what? Because the food is timely and it tastes great, and and they do a great job of keeping the restaurant all together. You're like, man, I went there, got great food, great service. They
Great
didn't talk to you
service.
as much.
They don't talk as much, but they are friendly. It is a service. It is a
Yeah,
service.
you're getting a service, but you're not getting that like hand holding white kitten glove thing
I
that
mean, you
people
don't
are
need
like,
that.
I'm looking for. Like you didn't get that at Taco Bell either, but you got there at 2 o'clock in the morning after the club.
And you waited in that line. Can we just say, I mean, all of this, you know what? And I think this is funny because to everything we're talking about now, recognizing we are Oklahoma Black Pack and we are here to disrupt your conscious on different things. So this is how we make things relative. We talk about stuff that we experience all the time, but we always got to bring it back to what's really happening in our experience in the atmosphere politically.
Well, come
In
on,
this
bring it back politically. Go on, get us back in line, Auntie
but
Tiffany.
I'm just saying, look at the correlation. We're saying what it is that we want, how it is that we want it presented to us, and how much we come back to that particular organization or business. Well, it's the same thing with your vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's time, y'all. I've said
Yep.
this before, and if you're reading, I hope that you've become, if not already, an avid reader of the Oklahoma City Herald because I'm writing about it. It's time. They've already said that the campaign has started. They're ready to run. And really paying close attention to what type of representation you would like for Oklahoma, period.
Hold on. Let me give a shout out to the Herald. I gave you my money for my subscription, and it felt like a week later I got a paper at my door.
You know.
So I really appreciate the fact that I got to read one. I get to read the articles that you write in the paper.
I
But
appreciate it.
I gave my $20 to support a local Black publication, and I got it in a week because where I live, there's not a place where I can pick up a publication easily. So y'all support the Herald, OKC. Send your money in because it's great reading in that newspaper, great information. I'm sorry, go ahead. I had to give them a shout out because I love that.
I totally appreciate it because that paper is definitely necessary, and their motto is for the Black community, providing information for the Black community. And the interesting thing about papers is that people think that nobody reads the newspaper, and that's not true.
Right.
I started off talking about I would like a study done on who's on social media and who's not. Like, how do we continue to feed information to people if I don't know where you are? Where are you looking for it at?
Yeah.
So that's a real good fact. And in that paper, you get so many different aspects, not just Oklahoma news, but there's national news as well. At any rate, back to Oklahoma and this vote and how we help ourselves. Listen, there's several bills been filed. Session begins here on the 7th, and people, I'm not begging, I implore anyone who hears this that am I echoing?
No,
that you go ahead and pay attention to what is happening, what types of bills have been filed. I don't bring to attention all of the bills. Of course, that would be ridiculous. But people, there's some that mean more to me, and then there's some that mean more to all of us. And people that are filing to run for office, pay attention to what's happening in their campaigns. What are they talking about? When are they quiet? What are they saying in front of groups of Black people during a holiday that really does not, that particular group of people, Black people, does not do us any good. We are here. I want to say this every time I start talking like this. These are Tanasha's opinions that come out of Tanasha's mouth, right?
Look, you ain't got to give no disclaimer. Look, there's no need for no disclaimer because that's true. We find ourselves with politicians using the atmosphere of Dr. King's
Mhm.
holiday, not his birthday.
Right.
So if you're gonna celebrate anything, celebrate his birthday,
Mhm.
not the holiday. Well, the holiday too, but these themes and messages, and the messages don't necessarily line up with what you've been doing the other 364 days out of the year,
Okay.
because people quote stuff like, what's the quote? There's always it's always time to do the right thing or something like that. Well,
Yeah.
okay, if that be true to you,
Right.
then you should not be in a pickle in deciding how are you going to get this land that was confiscated through eminent domain and urban renewal or removal, as my brother Chase Baldwin would say, back to the people that are still traumatized by that. How are we still deliberating and the effects of the race riot massacre? Excuse me, not riot. The race
Right.
massacre in North Tulsa on what they're due. Why are we still debating that? If it's always time to do the right thing, then the right thing would be retribution for those families affected by that. Because again, we're still having the same conversation 50 years later about the
Tired
impact
of
of
the
removing
same
commerce from our
conversation.
communities.
Right. And with that, people be careful who you attach yourselves to when campaigning.
You better
Like
stop
for the
it.
sake
You better
for
you
the
better stop
sake
it.
for the sake of a campaign win.
You
Listen,
you,
people.
you better stop it.
We talk about nonpartisan. We are a nonpartisan pack. At the same time, you have to be very intentional, deliberate about how you're running your campaign, how you want to be seen, and those individuals, why you're asking for their vote. Even if you are, we're in a primarily Republican state, right? It's a completely,
Mm.
almost completely red state. So we know that nonpartisan or working across party lines is necessary for a candidate, right?
Yep.
But are you having sincere conversations with those individuals you're asking for their vote? So say you're a Republican talking to a Democrat and you have reasons that you want this particular seat, whatever it is, are you telling them truly what the goals are of who you are? Like, are you exercising integrity? These are things that they run on my mind all the time because we watch it. We watch individuals run on a platform and then they don't do it. But then we also watch individuals, our own governor, he ran on a platform and he's doing it. He said he's tired of um, the governmental politics and he wanted to run this place like a business. And he's showing us that.
And, and for if you are black and Republican in the state of Oklahoma, I need you to be visible.
Visible.
Because what the assumption is that all black people are Democrats, and the Democratic Party has continually let black people down. Black and brown folks have continually bailed out the Democratic Party.
We are not
Continually.
pushing Republican Party. Let's be clear.
No, no, that's not what I'm saying. Not
I
not
just want to
not
be
at all. But I need, if you are black and Republican, because the assumption is that you're black in Oklahoma, that you are Democrat. If you're a black and Republican, be proud of being black and Republican, because, and just from me in business, having to working with a lot of people that are classified as a different political party, we don't talk about, oh, I'm a Democrat and that person's a Republican. Well, let's get through our Democratic and Republican values before we can talk about how we're going to help people. No,
Right.
we are two people who just happen to be registered with two different political parties,
Mm-hmm.
but my life experiences, my global life experiences have a lot of things. We have a lot of things in common. We
Mm-hmm.
put our commonalities first and how we can serve and help people more than the party. The party should, your party affiliation should not rule how you govern your life.
Hello.
It's a tool to be used for
Elect.
political activities,
That's
right?
it.
So, and I get disappointed when I find out that there was somebody that I was, networking with or whatever, and they were embarrassed about being black and Republican. I'm like, bro, like, I'm not judging you. I understand why you will be black and Republican, because we forget that there were a lot of black Republicans in the early 1900s. A lot of us were black, and the Democratic Party wasn't really favorable to black people. But I need black Republicans to be visible because it helps us understand how we can better bridge when we know we have a population of black folks who are Republican for a reason. How can we advocate for you? But what if we don't know that you even exist? Because you're embarrassed to be black and Republican. I don't understand. I don't understand that attitude.
Well, I'm going to say this. It is necessary for everyone to realize the main point of view here. When you said it in the beginning, what the Democrats have consistently done as it relates to black people. So if you want to look at it on its face, Democrat, Republican, have they really just done a whole lot for black people? And I'm just talking about in the last 50 years, right? So if we want to talk party specifics, but
Yeah.
you have to be one party or another to run for office. And that's it. You have to be one party or another to vote. And that's something else. Recently, there was something in the paper that mentioned, as an independent, you can vote in Democratic elections, but I believe I read, and the Republicans, you can't vote in theirs as an independent.
Nope. If you was a hybrid, you can't vote Republican.
And that's important information, though, right? So,
so if I am disappointed in the Democratic Party, if I'm a Democrat and disappointed, and I withdraw from the Democratic Party, guess what? I can't vote for nothing else unless I decide to be independent or a different party, or I just go right down and become a registered Republican. Those options are
what happened to your
for people. Huh?
I can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear you.
I mean, I hear you, but you're like far away. Something happened. Anyway, go ahead. I don't know if the people hear.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like when you look at, I think that is a messed up system to where if I decide that I'm not happy with the Democratic Party, and I know friends who have, and they know that, man, I'm gonna go independent. I can't vote for Republican elections, but I'm still voting for Democrat. But that whole philosophy just does not make sense. It almost forces you to stay where you are.
Yeah, I just want to say vice versa. If I ain't happy with Republicans, what am I doing? What am I doing? And the thing is,
I know. We know what happens if you're not happy with being a Republican. You join the Democratic Party and run for another seat.
And that's the thing, though, because being clear, that's why I said being intentional about your vote and looking at folks. We take a chance every single time. The hope is that the person will go in whatever office and do the job that they are there to do.
Yep.
We take a risk every time, too, when we elect people who've never served and they do not have a repertoire. They don't have a curriculum vitae. They don't have a resume that reads they've done anything to lead, manage, supervise, or any of that. We take a chance.
Yep.
So if your person does not win and you have another person, clearly that person is going to be your rep or senator or whatever they are. Hold that person to the fire as well. Get to know that person by emailing and calling and sending letters or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. Go visit if it's stateside. My point is, people, as in business, as it is in government, we need to be straight on both of those streets. There's no reason for you to be like, oh my gosh, I support these types of businesses and this is why I go here and da-da-da. But then you don't hold the same value to individuals you put in office, to individuals who are in office that you didn't even vote for. You still need to insert some type of value or concern, I would say, with that individual and how they're representing your community, your state. One of the things that I appreciate about Senator Young so much is whenever he talks about his district, he always says, I didn't take the oath only for Senate District 48. I took the oath to serve Oklahoma. And that is everybody.
Right.
Everybody that takes that oath. And so just being clear, I'm very passionate about this subject all the time because Apollo, it's time out for this. I scream
Yeah.
balance. We need balance.
Right.
We cannot continue to fight over 2 or 3 seats in our legislature here in Oklahoma. Y'all,
Yeah. And
let's
I think
follow the ground
what I
live all over. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
what I've learned is I've got a chance to understand more on by having conversation. And we talk about this where, you have someone representing you in your district or your ward. You
Mm-hmm.
have to build that relationship with them. And so even this process that we're engaged with now is I'm having a better idea of what someone in a different district or ward wants,
Mm-hmm.
because they also influence what may happen where I reside in my district or my ward.
Right.
But if I can provide value to that person that's elected, whether I voted for them or not, if I can provide value to move the needle that benefits my interest, I'm building a relationship.
Right.
Too much of the conversations are focused first on, I don't like him because of the party affiliation. Okay, have you had a conversation? Have you said, I want to have coffee, or can we have lunch, or I'd love to come to your office, let's do a virtual meeting?
Right.
That's how you get the needle to move when you're building relationships with people you elect. It's all, everything is social politics. Relationships, dating, personal, platonic, business. It is all about politics on what you can get out of that relationship. It's all leveraging. So you have to communicate to figure out how we can go forward. The lack of voice, underrepresented voices that are being muted, must be louder, must be more persistent to get their voices heard. This is how it's been since before 1770 or whatever the year they want to give us. It's been
17.
it's been that way. So if you know this is the playbook, you either do one or two things. You play by the rules, or you recreate the rules
Okay.
for your advantage, and you can change the rules through your vote if that's what you
Strategy,
want to do.
strategy, and
Strategy.
method. Okay.
Vision matters.
It does. And with that, it's like what I was trying to say is that we need to, while people are thinking about running for office, let's have a discussion about it. Where you live, what's impacting you in your particular community, and what it will take for you to become that person to represent that community.
Yep.
I don't, operating in fear doesn't work for people. It should not work for people. But
Yep.
and this is one of the things I'm saying, do it scared, because it is something that maybe a person has never done before. When you
Yep.
put yourself out there to run for office, you're saying you're putting yourself out there to be ridiculed in whatever type of way. You're also saying that you're willing to stand up for all the people as opposed to just your own voice.
Right.
So I say again, we need balance. And right now, our balance looks like we need more Democrats in this Oklahoma legislature than we have today. We do.
And yeah, and sometimes that balance looks different. Balance is not always going to be 50-50, but if you can move the needle to where you have, I would say you have the balance in influence, or you have more of a balance in how you move things forward. Because ideally, we love to have, let's draw it down the middle. Everybody is fairly represented. That's not the game that's being played. But
Right.
how you get the balance that you're looking for is, y'all, we gotta speak up. It is
Right.
way more than just marching, way more than just protesting. That is one part of it. If
Right.
you even look at um, how some policies or legislation goes forward in our state, there are groups of people who don't march down streets at all.
Right.
They show up at the Capitol,
They
and
do.
sometimes they don't show up at the Capitol,
Yeah.
but they have some type of influence to move that needle. So we have to look at the holistic strategy, and we need to continue holding those organizations responsible that are supposed to represent us, those civic organizations that are supposed to. And that even is us. That is even
Yeah.
Oklahoma Black Pac. on what we say that we are going to do or want to do for all Black Oklahomans in the state of Oklahoma. That's even us too. So as we are growing, but if you have been in position for a long time, if you have been in position for a while, you are absolutely subjected to people asking you, what have you done since you've been in office?
And be prepared to answer those questions. And this is what I will offer. Because of where I sit, you will not be able to answer those questions with only, I'm receiving awards. You answer those questions with not just legislation pushed, but how many times have you pushed this piece of legislation? How far has it gotten? And what is it truly doing for the people of Oklahoma?
Yep.
What is it doing for your communities specifically that you represent? And then what is it doing for people of Oklahoma as a whole? That's how we reach that party across the aisle thing. If I can tell you that this is going to enrich everybody, particularly it's going to enrich my community, but it's going to enrich you too. That's that walk, that going across the aisle thing. That's that thing where we're doing a level of compromise.
Yep.
And so being in office, if I didn't learn, I've learned in my first couple of years of being in this legislature that all of the work of that person may not, depending on where they sit, may not look like what you would like for it to look like in that Capitol, because all of the bills that they push may not make it to the governor's desk. However, if this particular person is pushing for legislation that will benefit you and your family and people, everybody around, and they push it and push it and push it, you ought to want to get behind that piece of legislation with that person and get it moving forward, and recognize that they are doing the work in the building and outside the building.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those things are important to recognize. And I know as everyday lay people, people that still say I can't stand politics or whatever, but you're very much a part of it, because those people that are making these rules and stuff, they ain't think about you necessarily, but they thinking about you. They affecting your life.
And you will absolutely know who of your elected officials are doing the work inside and outside the Capitol if you have a relationship with that office. So I encourage you that. So last thing before we go out on a positive note, as you leave us out, before I do my theme song, before that, put a link in the chat. Put a link in the chat, because if you don't know, every January you can register to have absentee ballots mailed to you. So you don't have to worry about going to get a ballot. You can do your homework at home before all the elections that you are eligible to vote in. So that is a huge benefit, especially in the atmosphere of COVID, as cases are expected to increase or are increasing. Beds aren't available. You can have that ballot sent to you. During the presidential election, have my absentee ballot. I skipped that long line, went right into the office, turned it in, and it was done. So go to the link in the comments. You can get it at the okvoterportal.okelections.us. Click that link there and register for your absentee ballots. And please update your information if necessary, mailing address, etc., so that way you don't have any problems. And record that information so that way if there's any issues, you have a record that you actually did update and are registered to vote. So, Auntie Titi, you got to take us out on a positive note, one of those inspirational quotes. But before you do that, pick up the pieces. That's all I got.
That is too funny.
So intro music, player.
Listen, I want to leave y'all with this. We didn't talk about Stokely Carmichael, but this is who it is. The secret of life is to have no fear. It's the only way to function. And I just said, don't operate in fear. Even our historical markers can teach us today. Stokely Carmichael told us, don't live in fear. Keep moving forward. That's what I got. And every time I feel like I'm giving y'all a keep moving forward, but that's what you're getting from me.
There it is. There it is. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if you all would please make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at OKBPAC and subscribe to our website at OklahomaBlackPack.com. You can also give a donation as well on our website. We thank you all for listening during this time. Hope you watch the replay, like, forward, share, all that good stuff. And until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.